Hello everybody, my name is Alex. This is Wii Master Gary.
I'm Gary, the Wii Master.
And we're AchieveMates.
Yes, we are.
So, this week on What's in Your Disc Tray, we're going to be talking about some of the games that we're playing at the moment.
Yep.
So, Gary, since I started last time, I'll let you start this time.
Cool. Yay! So,
Let me be myself.
I'm playing Dear God, it looks great. First of all, it's one of those really super high pixelated games, which I'm really into aesthetically. But it's weird. You play a deer hunter that is mauled to death by a wolf and is punished by a deer god to survive his life now as a deer. And it's a platforming game. It's a side-scrolling platforming game. It looks amazing, but it's weird. I haven't gotten too much into it, story or gameplay wise, but it's a platforming game, very basic. Eventually you get power-ups and abilities. But one thing I really like about this game is its checkpoints, or its I guess you could say it's checkpoints. You meet other you start off as a fawn, like a little baby deer.
Okay.
And you as time goes by, it's like day 1, day 2. It's not by it's just strictly by time. If you play the game for an hour, 3 days will pass, kind of thing.
Okay.
And the way you save to where you don't have to start over is you'll find another deer and you mate with that deer and you make a baby deer.
And that's your save point?
And so when you die, this is where it gets cool. When you die, you start off, you die and then you play as the baby deer that you created. This is where it gets cool. 2 things. When you make the baby deer, you now, as you progress through the game, the baby deer follows you and you have to protect it.
So it's basically you have to protect your physical spawn points.
Yeah, you have to protect your physical spawn points, your child, and if you die, you start playing as the baby deer. But when you start playing as the baby deer, the mother deer follows you and protects you.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
Until you become an adult deer again.
I assume. I haven't gotten that far. It's actually really hard because everything attacks you, pretty much.
I gotcha. That's interesting.
But the only thing is, if you accidentally attack the mother deer, it'll just leave. It'll just be like, fuck you. And vice versa. If you're an adult deer and you accidentally attack the baby deer, I think it leaves. I assume. I haven't done any of that. But the game doesn't tell you anything really. There's no waypoints, there's really no objective. I have one objective right now and I have no idea what to do. So at that moment I was like, I'll play this later. And that is my sum up of Dear God so far. And
just to sum it up, it's not DEAR like writing a letter. It's like deer, like the animal.
God.
It's Dear God.
And it may still be free on Xbox One for Gold members right now. It's September 6th.
Yes.
Is it?
It might not be free anymore, but it was free on Xbox One. I didn't download it, but I was thinking about it. It seemed pretty interesting.
Aesthetically, it's very aesthetically pleasing. I like it.
Cool.
Gameplay wise, I haven't dug deep enough to really say, but it's different. I like it.
Okay. So that's what's in your virtual disc tray.
Yes.
So what's in my disc tray is I've actually been going through and playing Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt again. Gary and I played a crap ton of that game, so much of that game.
It was amazing.
And they just released an update that allows you to do what's called New Game Plus mode. What New Game Plus mode is that it allows you to take your previously created save file. So for me, I already beat the game. I can take my save file and start a new game with it. So that allows me to remain the same level, reminds me So what that allows me to do is it allows me to take my same level, I have all the same gear, I have all the same skills, assets, everything. But I start the game over again, and it bumps everything up to my current level. So even though I was high level for endgame, now beginning of the new game will be the same level as me, and it just gets higher level, and it allows me to level up even more. It gives me better versions of all my current gear to where I can level up all my gear and create new gear that's legendary versions, and so on and so forth. Now, if you haven't played Witcher 3, Witcher 3 is a very, very extensive open world Skyrim-esque RPG game. So it's very similar to Skyrim in that it's incredibly open world, very, very, I would say, medieval-esque, and you play as a main character called Geralt of Rivia, and he's what they call a witcher, who is basically a person who is enchanted in a way to become a monster hunter, where he has high levels of toxicity resistance. He can create specific potions. He has specific levels of magic, and he's incredibly powerful. He's especially made as a race of people who are contracted monster hunters. And throughout the game, you're actually trying to find your adopted daughter. Her name is Ciri. And so you constantly look for her and trying to get her because she's being chased by what they call the Wild Hunt. And the Wild Hunt's basically a bunch of specters who are hunting her down to use her magic to be able to take over the world. So it's very, very interesting in story. The story's very, very heavy. It's very, very intricate with its story, and it's beautifully made. The gameplay is phenomenal. And what's great about the game, even though it's the third game in the Witcher series, you don't have to play any of the other Witcher games to understand what's going on.
Which I can attest to, because I have not played one Witcher game except for the Wild Hunt, and the game actually catches you up on the story if you pay attention, or if you actually care to know the story previous the story previous to this game. If you want to know what the story is, you can figure it out by context clues and other characters.
Yeah, exactly. They do a great job of filling you in on the story through like cutscenes and like just through dialogue. So what's great about it is if you want to know the backstory, it's very easy to catch up on. But the backstory isn't important to the current story for the most part.
No.
The important parts they catch you up on. So you can go through the entire game never playing. As a matter of fact, I didn't play the first Witcher. I played Witcher 2. But Witcher 3 is a great game. Probably one of my favorite games I've ever played. That's why I'm playing through it again. It's an incredibly long game, so if you love games that give you a lot of content and you can play for a long period of time, it's a great game to play. Gary and I both, just to beat through the game the first time, probably took us close to 120 hours.
Yeah.
And which is an incredibly long time, but for people who are used to playing games like Skyrim or Fallout or those Bethesda-style games or other open-world games which take a long time to beat, it's perfect for you. You would love it. It's very in-depth, very, very sophisticated game. I personally would recommend getting it on PC because the PC version allows you a little more fine-tuned control over the controls and whatnot. But that's enough of that. I highly recommend that game. Gameplay's fantastic. Graphics are gorgeous. It's still a little bit of a hefty price because it's a newer game still. It came out back in March. So if you have the $50 or $60 to buy, I would buy it, definitely, hands down. So that's what's in my disc tray.
There's a lot of sex in it too, so if that doesn't intrigue you, I don't know what will.
Yeah, it's very, very heavy in the sexual base, which a lot of it is
relevant to the story.
A lot of it is relevant to the story because it has to deal with your relationships that you build with people, but also a lot of it is you can opt out of doing it as well. I don't know if there's a way to turn it off in the settings. So if for people who
I don't think so.
are particular to not wanting to be exposed to sexually graphic content, it's not explicit, but there is a lot of nudity and sex that are involved with it. But you can skate around a lot of that.
Yep.
So for those of you who don't want to be a part of that, it's pretty easy to get around. That being said, the game is incredibly graphic. There's not a ton of heavy language, but there's a lot of gore to the game. So if you're squeamish, I would be wary about it. But if that kind of stuff doesn't bother you, then I would highly recommend it. It's a great game. So that's what's in my disc tray. So for everybody who watched our first one, this is obviously our second one. We couldn't do one last week. for various purposes for my actual job and so on and so forth. So sorry we missed last week. This is going to be a weekly thing. Last week was just a weird thing that happened. But thanks so much for watching. If you want to include what games that you're playing currently and recommend games to us and tell us why you're recommending them, go in the comments below. Like and subscribe to us. Also, let us know if you end up picking up one of these games or playing them based on our recommendation, or if you've already played them, let us know what you think about them. We'd love to get y'all's opinions on it.
Yep.
So,
and like I said, like, subscribe, and share with a friend.
Yes. Thank you so much for watching. That ends this episode of What's in Your Disc Tray. So hopefully we'll be back next. I say hopefully we'll be back next week to tell you about what's in our disc tray next week. And we actually have been talking about starting a different weekly series. We'll be in the talks about it. So maybe we'll be starting that soon. But until the meantime, thanks so much, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Get out there and go play some video games, nerd.